There are moments when life grows very quiet just before truth begins to speak. You sense it in the air around you, an invisible shift, a stirring in your chest that refuses to calm down. Something in you already knows that an unveiling is near. You cannot name it yet, but you can feel it. The peace you once felt around certain people has become a faint echo. This is not your imagination. It is awareness, rising to the surface. You have loved with honesty. You have shown up even when you were tired, given grace even when it was not returned, and hoped even when disappointment whispered that hope was pointless. That's what makes this moment sacred. The same heart that once carried blind trust is now learning to carry wisdom. The season ahead is not about revenge or regret, it's about revelation. Revelation never arrives to embarrass you, it comes to free you. There is a person whose words once warmed you but whose actions quietly stole your peace. You kept telling yourself it was just a rough patch, that love takes work, that patience would make things right again. Yet each time you tried to pour love into the connection, it felt as if your affection fell through invisible cracks. You were not being dramatic, you were being drained. When someone truly loves, their presence becomes calm water, steady, nourishing, safe. When someone only pretends, their presence becomes a storm, beautiful from a distance but destructive up close. You have been standing in that storm trying to convince yourself it was rain that would help things grow. It's time to step out of it. The universe has a way of showing truth through patterns. A small inconsistency becomes a repeated excuse. A missed call becomes a habit. Words stop matching behavior. Promises turn into apologies that sound familiar because you've heard them before. These are not coincidences, they are clues. Love doesn't vanish suddenly, it fades when it is never nurtured by honesty. You will soon see something that clarifies what your heart has suspected. It might not be dramatic. It might arrive through a conversation, a message, or a moment of intuition that can no longer be ignored. However it comes, let it come. The truth has been waiting patiently for you to be ready. There is no shame in loving someone who never learned how to love properly. It only means your heart was brave enough to try. What matters now is not proving that you were right, it's choosing to heal without carrying bitterness. When truth appears, grace must walk beside it. You will begin to understand that the person who claimed to love you was drawn more to the idea of you than to the reality of you. They loved your light when it made them feel warm but withdrew when that same light illuminated their shadows. They wanted your loyalty without offering their own. They admired your strength until it reflected their weakness. And yet you stayed, believing that love could teach them how to see. But real love doesn't need to be convinced. It recognizes value instantly. It shows up. It stays. It protects. Anything less eventually exposes itself, and that is exactly what's happening now. Exposure can look painful, but it's mercy in disguise. The mask falls not to humiliate you, but to liberate you from illusion. There will come a night when you stop replaying every moment, trying to pinpoint the first lie. You'll realize that the exact moment doesn't matter anymore, because the lesson has already done its work. It has taught you to read energy more clearly, to trust silence more than sweet words, and to honor the feeling that says, something isn't right. Truth always asks for space. It cannot breathe in denial. That's why relationships built on half-truths eventually collapse under their own weight. When you accept this, you stop blaming yourself for someone else's dishonesty. You start to see that their inability to love was never a reflection of your worth, it was a reflection of their wounds. You are stepping into a chapter where discernment will become your greatest ally. You will feel peace return as you stop fighting for explanations. You will find strength in understanding that closure is not something others give you, it's something you grant yourself the moment you decide to move forward. The pain will not last. It only visits long enough to rearrange your perspective. What feels like an ending will become an introduction to freedom, to self-respect, to the kind of love that doesn't have to be chased. When people show you who they are, believe them. Believing them is not cynicism, it's wisdom, and one day soon, perhaps sooner than you imagine, gratitude will rise where anger used to live. You'll look back and say, that was the moment I finally saw clearly. That's when you'll know the revelation was never about exposing them, it was about awakening you. There is a strange quiet that follows revelation. It isn't the silence of loss, it's the sound of release. You might wake up one morning and notice that the ache feels a little duller. You may still think of them, but the thoughts don't burn anymore. This is healing beginning to whisper through your spirit. It doesn't ask for attention, it simply starts doing its work beneath the surface. You'll realize that you no longer need to understand why they acted the way they did. The truth you needed has already spoken, they never loved you in the way they claimed. Maybe they loved your comfort, your devotion, your ability to fill the emptiness in them, but they never loved you for who you are. And that realization, though heavy at first, will become your greatest protection, because once you know the difference between affection and attachment, between manipulation and sincerity, between words and truth, no one can deceive you the same way again. The blindfold has fallen. What once confused you now feels obvious. What once hurt you now feels like training for discernment. God will often allow exposure not to punish, but to prepare. You may not have understood why He didn't let things work out, why He allowed certain conversations to crumble or plans to fail. But now you see, He was removing what was built on pretense before it could collapse and crush you later. He was showing you what wasn't real so that you could make room for what is. Sometimes love is withheld because you were meant to discover a deeper kind, the love that begins within. The love that teaches you your worth is not negotiable, that your peace is not up for trade, and that your kindness should never become your prison, so don't curse the ending. Bless it. It's clearing your path. The pain that once paralyzed you is now creating motion. You are not being abandoned, you are being aligned. You are moving toward people who will recognize the value that was ignored. You are moving toward experiences that match your energy instead of draining it. In this new season, your spirit will become more sensitive to peace. You'll notice when energy shifts. You'll sense when someone's words don't carry truth. You'll stop ignoring the small warnings you used to explain away. That's the fruit of revelation, clarity, and clarity will become your comfort. It won't feel harsh, it will feel holy. You'll begin to thank God for the truth instead of fearing it. You'll realize that truth, even when it hurts, is never your enemy. It's your shield. You'll start to see that the one who pretended to love you wasn't truly your loss. They were the obstacle between you and your freedom. Every unanswered question, every disappointment, every red flag you tried to paint gold, all of it was guiding you to this understanding: you deserve honesty, consistency, and peace. It's not arrogance to expect those things, it's self-respect. You've spent enough time being the one who always gives, always forgives, always hopes. Now it's time to receive, not from the same person who took, but from life itself. From the people God will send who don't need to be reminded how to treat you. Healing will teach you something powerful. Closure doesn't come when they apologize, it comes when you accept the truth and let it rest. Some people will never admit what they did, but their silence will confirm it all. You'll stop waiting for them to validate your pain, because you'll realize your heart doesn't need their confession to heal. You'll find beauty in simple things again: sunlight through the curtains, laughter without guilt, stillness without fear. These small joys are your spirit's way of saying, "I'm free now." You'll start sleeping peacefully again, because your soul will finally stop fighting for something that never wanted to stay, and when memories surface, they will no longer sting. You'll look back and see a younger version of yourself doing the best they could with what they knew. You'll forgive that version, not for staying too long, but for loving too deeply in a world that often confuses love with control. Forgiveness doesn't mean inviting them back. It means releasing their hold on your mind. It means saying, "You no longer get to live rent-free in my thoughts." It's a gentle but powerful act of self-liberation. Soon, peace will feel natural again. You'll realize that solitude isn't punishment, it's restoration. You'll stop craving chaos just because it feels familiar. You'll stop chasing validation from people who are comfortable only when you're uncertain. You'll start choosing calm even when it's quiet. That's when your energy will shift. You'll attract people who are drawn to your authenticity, not your vulnerability to manipulation. The same truth that exposed false love will begin to attract true love. It always works that way. God never reveals without replacing. Every exposure is followed by elevation. You had to lose what was false to gain what's real. The storm didn't destroy you, it refined you. Now you carry a quieter strength. You don't need to announce it. It shows in how you walk away from disrespect without needing closure. It shows in how you no longer lower your standards for temporary comfort. It shows in how your peace no longer depends on someone else's consistency, and when they see that you've healed, some may try to return. They'll sense your calm and want to taste it again, but this time they'll find no open door, only boundaries wrapped in grace. You won't respond from anger, but from wisdom. You'll know that what once broke you was only meant to teach you how to build better, because now you understand, love that isn't rooted in truth can never last. Lies can build excitement, but they can't build intimacy. Pretense can create passion, but it can't create peace. What you're moving toward now is love that's steady, genuine, grounded, the kind that feels like home, not a battlefield, and you'll be ready for it, because the revelation that once hurt you has now healed you. When truth has done its work, peace quietly enters. It doesn't rush in with noise, it arrives softly, like morning light spilling over the edge of a window. You wake one day and notice you are not carrying the same heaviness. You still remember, but the memory no longer wounds. That is the proof that you have healed. You have crossed through the season of revelation and into the season of renewal. What used to drain you has lost its power. The person who pretended to love you no longer occupies the center of your thoughts. The space they once filled is becoming fertile ground for something real, self-respect, calm, purpose. You begin to move differently now. You answer with patience instead of pain. You listen without suspicion. You trust yourself again. You stop doubting your intuition because you've seen how right it was all along. The same discernment that once frightened you now guides you. As peace settles in, you start to understand what it was all for. The exposure wasn't meant to shame you, it was meant to wake you up. It was never about losing someone, it was about finding yourself. The end of the false was the beginning of the authentic. In quiet moments, gratitude will surprise you. You'll thank God not only for the people who stayed, but also for the ones who left. Their absence made room for clarity. Their silence forced you to listen to your own heart. Their rejection pushed you closer to divine protection. Slowly, you realize that love isn't supposed to feel like confusion. Real love doesn't make you beg for reassurance or compete for peace. Real love shows up. It respects your boundaries. It holds your hand without trying to control your steps. This new season will not look like the old one. You'll carry lessons that shape how you love and who you allow near you. You will protect your energy without apology. You will speak softly but stand firmly. You will recognize early when something feels wrong and honor that feeling instead of ignoring it, and then, without forcing it, new connections will appear. Maybe a friend who listens differently. Maybe a partner who mirrors your calm. Maybe opportunities that match your healed heart. You'll know them because they won't require you to abandon yourself. They'll meet you where peace lives. God restores slowly but thoroughly. He rebuilds in a way that no longer depends on illusion. Every time you thought you were being broken, you were being shaped. Every delay was preparation. Every disappointment was redirection. Now, the timing is shifting. Doors will open easily because you are no longer pushing the wrong ones. The love that once blinded you taught you vision. The pain that once silenced you taught you truth. You will never again settle for halfway love or halfway honesty. You will no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You will walk in a confidence that doesn't shout, it simply is. There will come a day when you look back and barely recognize the version of you who begged to be understood. You will bless them, because they carried you here. You will whisper, "Thank you for surviving when you didn't know how." And when true love appears, love that is gentle, consistent, transparent, you'll be ready. Not desperate, not fearful, just open. You'll meet it with both discernment and peace. It will feel like coming home after being lost for years. This is what revelation was preparing you for. You weren't meant to remain broken. You were meant to rise wiser. You were meant to love again, but this time from abundance, not from emptiness. Keep walking forward. Don't look back to check if they've changed. Focus on the change within you. Because what's ahead is not another cycle of pretending, it's a chapter of authenticity. Every ending God allows is an act of mercy disguised as loss. You are stepping into the kind of freedom that cannot be shaken by lies, because you've built it on truth. You will move with calm assurance, knowing that love built on honesty will find you when the time is right, and when it does, you will recognize it instantly, not because of grand promises, but because of peace. Peace will be the language of that connection. It will not rush, it will not confuse. It will not demand. It will simply fit. Until then, let this be your comfort. You have already won. You have survived what tried to break your trust. You have reclaimed your voice. You have seen what was hidden and chosen light anyway. That is what strength looks like. That is what grace feels like. And that is what freedom truly is, walking forward, unafraid, carrying wisdom instead of wounds. The person who never loved you the way they claimed was never your forever, they were your awakening. And that awakening is leading you straight into peace that cannot be faked, and love that will never have to pretend.